So I'm very glad that you are here and you are willing to listen to our story. My name is David Schraven. I'm working with Funke Mediengruppe. This is the largest newspaper group in Germany. The name is quite unknown because, I don't know. We have got a couple of newspapers like Watz and some others, Hamburger Abendblatt, Berliner Morgenpost, and I'm there working as head of investigations. We started this special project a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, and I hope that the translation in Italian on the headphones will work. I see it's not working, so I should, what to do? What should I do? I could dance, but
It's not working. Yeah.
no, it's working. Is there anything working? Yeah, no, it's working. Okay. Okay. Good.
Great.
And I think this example is quite interesting because we were able in this investigation to put together some of the things that are very important in the developing world of international journalism. What?
Wait.
I wait again and start dancing again. No? Can I talk again? Okay. So I think it's very interesting and very important to know how to work together cross-border, how to work together in international issues, even if it comes to international crime where there are no borders for guys who are up to do money laundering, trafficking and stuff. So we are very glad to introduce you in this story. First of all, we saw in Germany, in my department, that Germany was quite a paradise for Mafia. First of all, it's not a crime to be a member of Mafia in Germany. It's quite funny. There were some wiretapings where they even wiretaped the baptism of a Mafia member and the baptism of a Mafia cell. And, you know, for Italians it must be sounding crazy, but they were all coming together and saying the verbs they said to be a member of Mafia, and everything was said, but the police just said, hey, we can't do anything, they're just members of Mafia, so what should we do? And the investigation of the police just stopped. Only sometimes, as in Duisburg, when several people were killed in the streets, then it's Mafia is a big issue in Germany, but only in the meaning of Mafia is coming to Germany, they are hiding in Germany, but mainly in the opinion of our politicians, of our public opinion, the Mafia is not in Germany to operate business, but just to do some killings and stuff, but mostly they are in Italian. It's not a German problem, it's an Italian problem. So the meaning was a couple of years ago in Germany. We wanted to prove in our investigation that this is wrong. We wanted to prove that Mafia is existing in Germany, and we managed to interview a killer, and I want to show you some of this interview here we did in Düsseldorf. I hope you can hear something.
È possibile spegnere queste luci?
It's not working. It's not fun without anything to hear.
Non si sente l'audio dei video?
Se uccide è una specie di droga.
Ma nelle cuffie, ma non fuori.
Molto potente. Quello che vive è...
Could we start one more? Give us more.
Se uccide è una specie di droga. Molto potente. Quello che vivi è come quando vai a caccia. Tutto si annulla, non vedi più niente. Cioè hai solo l'obiettivo. Non ti vedo più come un uomo, sei tutto asettico. Per me sei uno che devo uccidere, punto e basta. Finisco, ti sparo, boom, me ne vado, ho finito. Ci sono tanti che hanno paura, fanno il killer, però una struttura mentale come la mia. Significa che io, oltre ad avere il coraggio, l'intelligenza, la capacità di preparazione, di azione, è perché sono uno spietato.
And this is especially astonishing for a German audience because this is really a killer. You killed a couple of guys in Italy, and this guy is in Germany and he's free. He's running around and doing his stuff. But this was the end, and this is a problem in Germany. And now we are going to explain how we went in this investigation. And the first thing we did was a big analysis.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. So that's a little bit too loud. Hello, I will present myself. Anna-Maria Neifer is my name. I'm working as a journalist in Germany. I'm working for Westdeutscher Rundfunk, what is the biggest public TV and broadcast station in North Rhine-Westphalia, or in whole Germany, we could say. And David and I, we started working together in 2011 when we received a lot of documents about Mafia in Germany, and it was a very big report of the police authorities, round about 300 pages, and full of proofs that Germany is actually infiltrated by Mafia members who are doing their business in Germany. Why is it so attractive for the Mafia in Italy to invest in Germany? It's just that they are putting the money that they are making in Italy just in Germany, because in Germany there are, like you said, no laws that you have to show and prove where the money does come from. So it can be even from illegal negotiations, but in the end it doesn't matter. So they can just launder their money in Germany, what is just perfect. So we said, okay, there is just so much information, we should put up a database, and this is what we did. So we put all this information in a big Excel file, and so we identified around about 1,200 people who were connected in a way to Mafia, and it was overall 'Ndrangheta. Then otherwise 260 companies roundabout that they set up to just launder the money or otherwise traffic drugs or weapons and stuff. This is all happening in Germany and quite hidden. And then 230 clans that are all connected to 'Ndrangheta. So the really interesting thing what we did is that we not only identified the people, but also the networks that they belong to. So this is very important that we connected the individual information that we had about the birth dates and about the addresses, but also that we connected it to their networks. So that means their clans, the business, the companies that they are set up, but also their social network. What is really interesting, because we not only identified their family boundaries that are very important even in Germany, but also the whole contacts that they had with also with German people. So why the 'Ndrangheta or Mafia in Germany is so successful is that they're already working together with people from Germany who just really help them in very different ways. So one of the key findings that we had through all this data is that the different Mafia groups, like 'Ndrangheta, Camorra, or the Mafia from Apulia, that they are already working together in Germany, and they are quite putting the system that they have in Italy just on Germany. So they are also splitting their territories, they are splitting their businesses, and they're just really splitting the cake between them and try to not fight with each other, but just keeping calm. So nobody realizes in Germany, nobody sees Mafia, and that they can just do in silence their business. the German authorities already estimate that like the businesses that they are setting up is overall like bars and restaurants, pizzeria, and that they estimate like every 5th pizzeria in Germany is kind of connected to the mafia, to money laundering, or to trafficking. The family bondages in Germany are as important for the 'Ndrangheta as here in Italy. So we saw that these ties between the family are very important. So, and very often the wife, for example, or the cousin is like, they put them in names of as the chiefs or the directors of the bars and restaurants, but in reality, the people of the mafia are in behind and still leading the whole thing. So we thought, wow, this is really cool. We have now a really big database. We have a lot of information, and we really should do something very big about that, because until now, the mafia in Germany is quite unknown. And so we connected to two other different media houses. So that was David's house, like he just introduced, the Funke Mediengruppe, also Spiegel Online, which is the biggest online news platform in Germany, and with Westdeutscher Rundfunk, where I'm working now, so TV and radio stations. So we kind of covered all those different medias, and we all got together and said, hey, let's do it really big. The problem was that we were just the German media. And so when German journalists are calling in Italy and asking prosecutors for interviews, they probably just hang up because they don't understand what you're wanting and they don't trust you. So that was our problem, and this is where our colleagues from IRPI come into place, so our Italian colleagues, Cecilia and Giulio.
Hi, my name is Giulio Rubino and I'm part of IRPI. We've been contacted by David through Gui, another one of our team members, and we met in Hamburg in a similar event to this one, and we started talking about these facts. David told us the story, and a lot of names were coming out as key figures of this investigation, and so what we needed to do, what you really need to do when you're trying to investigate a mafia story is to try to rebuild the structure of command. We know that this is the basic idea of organized crime. There is a precise structure of command, and to understand it means to be able to then track the possible ramifications of all of this. The story was already a big story. There were big amounts of money being controlled by the mafia, and big parts of territory being controlled by the mafia in Germany. And it wasn't easy. It was very hard. Me and Cecilia started building relations with the prosecutors we already knew and others we met during this investigation. And we tried to identify who could the main figures be and what could be their role in connecting Sicily to Germany. The modus operandi of organized crime, of Italian organized crime, passes through a very strict control of their homeland. It's not random that their first activities in Germany were bars and pizzerias. I believe that this means trying to take control of the street. They know in their homeland, they know every small road between fields, they know every olive tree, and this is part of their power. So they start to build that, and then they move on to bigger businesses. So that meant that trying to track these figures, we had to go local in small Sicilian towns and talk to and try to find the local histories of these figures and how they are connected, or they could be connected to the international part of the story of this investigation. There is no unique database for this. Most of these cases can be very old. Some figures disappear for a while and then they reappear again. And this was the case of one of the most important of our figures that we had a lot of trouble in finding, because it's not like the different cases that the prosecutors work on are on a single searchable database. So you don't know where the trial was held, if there ever was a trial that involved him, And so this means patiently going from town to town, from tribunal to tribunal, trying to see if you can find this figure. This also, there are even other smaller but yet hard to overcome problems. That is like names in Sicily are often the same. The surnames are not that many, and even the first given names are not that many. So there are a lot of people with the same name. And identifying the right one is crucial, because from that figure you will understand who are his referents at a higher and lower level, and what could be the role of that person in the structure you're trying to describe in Germany and in Sicily again. In the end, a big help to our investigation came from a local journalist, a very, very great mafia expert, that is Franco Castaldo, is the director of Grandangolo, a newspaper from Agrigento. And of course, having worked on this subject all his life, he was very helpful in identifying which particular, who was this person that we knew the name and birth date and everything about, but still we couldn't find any specific information. And only once we identified him, all the other pieces started to fall into place. Here's the man, Calogero Di Caro. This guy had passed through changes in leadership in the mafia groups of his hometown, and that's why his name was lost in translation. He also partially collaborated with the police the first time he was arrested, and this means that he wasn't under any particular radar at the moment. Yet his importance, once we identified the person, became clear, was much higher than many of the other figures that had, at a first glance, looked as the actual organizers of the traffic. And he actually managed, when he was arrested in his interrogation, to say, no, look, I'm not really part of it. I'm not really part of Mafia. It has all been sorted out with Italian authorities. So he lied blatantly to the German authorities, and but once we understood who he was, and once we put him in relation with the other person he was working with, his importance became clear. The fact that he acted to guarantee that venture, that specific venture, ran up to the standards that the bosses required, and that was his role, became clear once we understood who he was. And so going from this and knowing everything I just said, like the importance between the local control of the territory and the international links, we managed to rebuild a little bit the structure that we were investigating. I leave to Cecilia to explain this.
Now it's on, okay. Like you. Okay, so I'm Cecilia, and I'm a journalist of IRPI. We haven't explained before what IRPI is, a center of investigative reporting, an independent center of investigative reporting in Italy, and we're trying to work on investigative reporting on the models of other centers that already exist in the world, like in America, ICIJ, in the Balkans, so CCRP and others. So like when David and Anna contacted us to try and work on this case, as Giulia was saying, we...
I would just add that transnational work is what, I mean, we like the most.
Exactly.
Like what we want to do.
We try and work mainly on transnational investigations, and this is one of the ones we liked the most, to be fair. It's been a tough work, but it's been a fun work a lot. And it's been great to work together with them, because we were really a team. Even though we only met once in life, we spent lots of time in doing this research together, and it really worked well. And as Giulia was saying, the local also contact with Grandangolo has been crucial. So we can say that we had two levels. One's been the local reporting, one has been the international reporting with them. So the team was quite large, and we used at the end three different languages, because you had German, English, and Italian in this investigation. And something also that we should maybe briefly say is that, apart from looking at the general business of the mafia, David and Anna had discovered that one of the main activities of this of the Agrigento Mafia was something that they called the Bau Mafia, which means in Italian the construction work mafia, and they will tell you more about it. But basically, by looking at the pyramid, after trying to, so the first names we had to check was a bunch of people, a large bunch of people. We didn't know whether they were important or not, and they were all coming from Licata and Campobello di Licata, which are two small towns in the Agrigento province. And by start checking these people on different, from different sources, even social networks were quite useful in this case, we figured out these people were just simple proxies. They were just basically given some thousands of euros, go up to Germany, put their signature on bank papers and on bureaucratic papers to open up companies, and they were just simply acting as proxies. And once the Bau Mafia was caught by the German authorities, these people got into trouble by being proxies, but were totally not the criminal minds behind the operation. Then we constructed a different level. The second level is that we call the pickers. So it's another bunch of people that are slightly more important in the chain. And some of them, for example, is these like Schiliro and Eroi, who is an accountant, and had kind of a double role. So he was on a side an accountant who was already jailed in Germany for some fraud crimes. At the same time, he was acting as a picker for proxies. So these people had to travel between Germany and Licata and find proxies. Most of these proxies will obviously come from families, as Anna was saying, because family ties are extremely important to Cosa Nostra as well, and not just 'Ndrangheta. And then we got to another level. This other level is what you would call the CEOs of Bau Mafia, so like the administrators. And there was two mainly important people that they've just been trialed 2 weeks ago in Germany. And they're Gabriele Spiteri and Rosario Pesce. Spiteri was in charge of Cologne Bau Mafia, whereas Pesce was more active in Dortmund. And all what would be in the middle between the two territories was something kind of a kind of war between the two of each time they had to decide who would take business into some construction companies or some call for tenders or some money laundering operations. The two had to discuss. And this discussion had to pass through, we didn't put it in the pyramid, but it was crucial, it passed through some bars. That maybe David will tell you more about. But again, as Giulia was saying, they first get to a place, they start buying bars, pizzerias, and these places are crucial till the end of the business. They will always be the places where all the organization has to sit together and get directives, basically. And then once we finally identified our men, we figured out that, as Giulia was saying, he lied to German authorities. And how did we figure this out? Well, in this case, Franco Castaldo's help was totally crucial because we managed to figure out that this man not only had definitely contacts with Cosa Nostra in Sicily in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, but definitely has been upgraded to a more important role in Germany. And that role was that of the watchdog. He had to control that Spiteri and Pesce would actually do the job in the proper way. And so once we got to this point, we started wondering, so but who's checking on Di Caro? Because if he's the watchdog, somebody else must have put him there. And that is the part that was more difficult to build, and we don't have actually names and answers to this part, but we still managed to build the structure, and this is what I'm going to explain now. So, as possibly all the Italians in this room know, that the Cosa Nostra works with mandamenti, and mandamenti is like an area that is under the control of a clan, so to say. And each mandamento has a capo, which is a chief, basically, an administrator, so to say. It's like a kind of mayor, we could say, a boss. And something very clear in the geography of Cosa Nostra between Licata and Mannheim line is that the mandamento in Sicily would be translated exactly the same into Germany. So if you have a capomandamento in Coeur, he will be the capomandamento of another place in Sicily. And once you find out the connection between the two, you can be sure about the whole clan, because the mandamento, practical example, the mandamento of Palma di Montechiaro, that's been apparently one of the ruling mandamentos in the Agrigento province for the past years, was an, we could say at least for the past 5 or 6 years, ruling Mannheim. And how do we know this? We'll go to that step. That is an interesting thing that we also reconstructed. But just to give you a hint, we also know that as that happens with Agrigento, which is where we worked on, you're going to have the same about Trapano, you're going to have the same about Palermo, and you're going to have the same about the rest of Sicily. So that is something that we haven't researched yet, but they're definitely all there. And the interesting part is that they're all there and they're pretty well coordinated as if they are a sole organization, which is Cosa Nostra. And this organization has the top pyramid, which, according to the prosecutors of the DDA, the Direzione Distrettuale Antimafia of Palermo, is a man called Matteo Messina Denaro, which is on the top, who's on the top 10 list of the most wanted criminals in the world, and he's, well, obviously he's wanted, so hasn't been caught yet. And going back on the research we did on the Capomandamento of Mannheim, that part we reconstructed together with Franco Castaldo, thanks to some murders that have been. So David and Anna came up with some names saying, can you guys see whether Condello and Burgio murders had any importance in Sicily? Because, you know, they were in Mannheim, they might have some kind of role in the Palma di Montechiaro mafia. And we said, okay, we'll look at that. And after looking at that, what we discovered together is the fact that Giuseppe Condello wasn't just a man, he was the capomandamento of Palma di Montechiaro and Mannheim at the same time. And at a certain point, this man gets killed in Palma di Montechiaro, and he is a typical, what you would call Lupara Bianca murder, because his body, together with the driver, is hidden into a water drainage in the countryside, so not to be found. Why is this man killed? This man gets killed because he was supposedly in charge of all the trafficking, different trafficking, so arms, women, drugs, and everything in Mannheim. But at one point, he started using too much cocaine, and he became not trustable anymore. And according to the ex-killer that David interviewed, during the interview David did, the same killer that you saw the video before, we reconstructed the fact that, according to him, this murder was ordered by Matteo Messina Denaro. Because when you have a province, like Agrigento province, you will have many mandamento, and on that there is ongoing investigations from the prosecutors trying to reconstruct whether you have 6 or you have 7 mandamentos. But the important part is you have many mandamentos and you have chiefs, and when one capo mandamento needs to be killed, it is not an easy decision to take. So all these capo mandamentos were sitting together and, you know, like discussing, are we actually going to kill Condello or not? And at one point, according to the killer, Denaro comes in the scene saying, you either guys sort this out, that has become a mess, or I will sort this out. And that is the moment in which Condello is invited back to Palma di Montechiaro and get killed. One last important piece of information. This man had a restrictive measure. In theory, he was not supposed to leave Italy. This man was traveling freely from Italy to Germany anytime he wanted to. So I think this is just to give you a dimension of which kind of phenomenon we're facing.
So at this point, the story we just come back to Germany because we just had a lot of information that we could analyze and really put into the right place through our colleagues from Italy. But the point is that I just want to stress is that through this transnational cooperation that we had, there was really no problem about publishing the stories, and like that everybody could have his and her own story. So there was never really any point where we were in like kind of trouble or something that we couldn't find and put it down to our local thing. So I will just mention like so it was very fruitful cooperation for everybody, and I can just underline that it's just a very good thing to do, and that you shouldn't be don't have any fear about it. It's just a really good thing, and everybody is just gaining about it from this. So like our big story that we published on the 7th of April, so it's not too far along, about the Mafia in Germany, like comes back to like the really local thing. So we already had that 2 cities in Germany, Cologne and Dortmund, that were like very important, and I will just outline the construction mafia, how we call it, or Baumafia in German language. It's just a very clever system that exists like everywhere in Germany, we think. So it's just about hiding the money and just hiding the illegal generated money, and this is what they do through those proxies and shell companies, and it's just really good made, because it just appears to be legal on the papers. And so that was really the problem for the German authorities at the moment, but we know that there are 400 companies involved, so 400 companies in Germany in the construction sector that are sometimes like very well known, and they have a very good reputation, and they're very popular. And one of them is Rundholz, this company. And when they got stressed, and when we just really said to them, hey, we just have the proof of it, they are just really like getting back and saying, okay, we never know. So there is still a lot of work to be done, and the point is what we found is that it's really a system of this construction sector fraud, if you want to say like this, and they're making just millions, when not even more, with it. So there is a lot of loss, because they do not pay taxes in Germany. So it's really a tax fraud, and it's just a very huge problem in Germany. A judge said that the construction sector is just really completely infiltrated in Germany, and that there is no longer any serious construction work going on in Germany. So it's a really huge problem. What I just want to mention, one last point, is that our project is just a really unique project, and I just want to point out like the special characteristics about it. So it's a transnational cooperation. What is just really the best thing of it, because we just had the possibility to publish in different languages and also in different areas of Germany, what was just really good for us. On the one hand, we have like online publications, but also newspaper publications in Germany and in Italy. We also had like magazine publications. We had a big TV documentary on the first TV program in Germany, and also this data journalistic project, what you just saw at the beginning, the database. So all in all, we just had a lot of fun, and it was just a big publication. So this just from my point.
Yeah, and what was for us from the beginning, the question was, is there a mafia in Germany? We proved the mafia is in Germany, and she's quite strong in Germany. And there was one part. There was one part in the interviews we did with the killer, where he explained to us how the mafia came to Germany, and it's quite interesting. So I want to just show it. It's just 3 minutes, I guess.
Questo è il territorio, questo è lo Stato, la sua struttura dello Stato. Quindi questa qua è la struttura statale tedesca. Questi te li puoi immaginare come se fossero le forze dell'ordine, la polizia. Queste sono le economie dello Stato tedesco. Questi sono quelli che proteggono la struttura dello Stato, perché comunque Anche lo Stato è, come dire, è una struttura. L'antistato, cioè la mafia, è anche una struttura. Questo è legale e questo è illegale. Tu sei bianco perché sei Stato, io sono nero perché sono l'antistato. Il primo pezzo che arriva è la regina, perché la regina te la devi immaginare come se fosse il braccio destro del boss. Il re è il boss, può essere un fratello, un parente del boss e si accompagna sempre, come dirti, a degli alfieri che proteggono la regina, no? Uomini di fiducia. Osserva il territorio e come è fatto lo Stato, come funziona, le sue leggi, le sue regole, la sua economia. Gli manda a dire al re: qui bisogna sapere, la regina comincia a poter, come dire, iniziare a costruire la sua struttura. Ristorante, può partire dal ristorante. Quando arriva il boss, arrivano altri 2 killer. I soldati, gli uomini, l'antistato, li può assorbire già nel territorio tedesco, siciliani già presenti in Germania. Gli schemi sono sempre questi.
And this was for us very interesting when we noticed that, and he was telling us this story. It was like, some guy is telling us some stories. But, you know, when we found out, it's another story we will do in the future, that it's exactly that. The guys from Italy, these mafia guys from Italy, just came over to Germany, like they did in Italy, in Sicily, in other parts in Italy. They do in Germany. They came with the same structures, they do the same business, and they are operating freely in Germany. This is the stories we did. As Anna said, a couple of stories. We were also doing a big page in Grand Angelo in Sicily that was very nice and very good. I loved it. You know, in Germany, you are only allowed to write the first letter of the second name of a mafiosi. You know, it's German law, press law. You just can write Gabriele S. So nobody knows who is Gabriele S. That he is Gabriele Spiteri. But by the Italian press law, it's allowed to write Gabriele Spiteri. And to write this in his hometown, it was fun.
For us, it was much more of satisfaction to publish on a media such as Grandangolo, although it's not a big national media, because it means addressing to an audience that knows this problem very well. In this investigation, we went really into detail of a complex structure, and we went through 15, 20 years of history of Mafia, so it was really satisfying for us to publish for an audience that is the audience of Grandangolo, that knows the structure of Mafia very well. And considering the space they gave us from experts, real experts on the subject, we were very happy about it.
And no, this is not the end of the story. Germany used to be a paradise for Mafia in the past years, and we want to change it at least a bit. Our aim is to change the laws in Germany, to make being a member of Mafia a crime. This is what we want to do. And I think it's necessary to make it very clear to the not only German audience, but also to the European audience, how far the Mafia has reached already in Europe. And our next step is we are going to publish our database in the future. And I just want to give you a look what it looks like when we can do this. Like, for example, this is an important guy. It's Camelo Ligato. This is his network. And here can you read all about what he's doing, that he was in jail, what kind of crimes he did, where he lived and lives, his nicknames, the files he was found in his birthday and stuff. And then you can switch its network from the database to the places where these guys live, you know. And then you see how far these networks reach. and it's not published yet, it's only in the test phases. But then you can see here his connections, to whom he is married, his kids, everybody he's got contacted with. And all these guys who are on this list are not only on this list because they are, I don't know, somehow relatives to him, but relatives who are also involved in this crime, who are in the files anywhere because of the crimes they did. And then you see the new ones, and you can follow their rules and their networks. And you can put them down on the map again. But this is what we're going to publish in, I think, 2 months or 3 months. And from there on, I think we will spread it further and further through Europe. And then I think Mafia has got a problem.
I just want to add. Okay, just wanted to say a quick thing that I think is important to give you, since we're in a festival dedicated to journalism, is the fact that none of us, from the Italian side, neither Giulio nor me, knew much about the Agrigento Mafia before this project. And I think what works in this case is not starting with the approach of saying, oh, either you know the phenomenon or you're an expert on it, or you're not going to be able to do anything about it, but rather have a method that you can apply to all these kind of stories, because we're quite young and we still have definitely to learn a lot about many groups of organized crime around the world, but the method of analysis and research kind of applies to the majority of these groups, I would say, if you agree. So I think what worked in this case was really a method of how to work with local colleagues, which for Italy is quite an innovative thing, because for the first time a local Sicilian journalist who's I would say a Pandora vase of informations on Agrigento's Mafia had the chance of looking at German documents, investigations, and collaborate in such a large team, so that so much local knowledge that otherwise kind of a very small audience would read can go to a global audience, because it can go even well beyond German in this case, to truly an international audience, and I think that's really crucial. And one very last thing is the nickname that David mentioned on the database. We figured out that is crucial in terms of if you talk at least about Italian mafias, because, for example, the man we were tracking down, one of the moments we were most sure about, okay, it's the same person, and exactly when we got the nickname. So check nicknames.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, questions.
Yes, anybody questions?
So, yeah, we don't have a moderator, I guess, so we're self.
No questions? Okay, one question.
Hi. Were there reaction after the publication of the articles? I mean, politician or the mobsters or so.
Yeah, as in Germany, we got a lot of reactions on this article. Not article, it was a serial of articles and documentary and stuff. And there was a huge political discussion. It's going on, still going on. And Germany is under pressure to change its money laundering laws. So there is reaction on this, but it's not strong enough, so we keep going.
Cool. The next question is, what was the perception of Italian crime organization after the killing in Duisburg? Did it change something in the laws?
It was, in my point of view, it was quite funny, There was visible that there is a mafia, that was visible. But it was like, there's a mafia, they killed some guys, but they killed the guys in Germany because they had trouble down in Italy. There were some family troubles in Italy. Nobody really understands who was against who and why and stuff. And somehow, after this crisis in Italy, they just decided to kill these guys. And it just happened to be done in Duisburg. It was, it was not planned to be in Duisburg. So the perception was, Mafia is in Germany, yes, but they are not there as an operating system, you know. It's like, there are some guys, they're doing some stuff.
Yeah. But it did change within the Mafia organization, because Cosa Nostra has an order not to kill in Germany. And that's the reason why you have Condello, Burgio, and others being killed in Palma di Montechiaro rather than in Germany.
This is, you know, sorry.
Thank you. Congratulations for your analysis. I think it's very nice to see how your microanalysis is giving results in showing a full picture. Therefore, I think it works very, very well. On the other hand, what I'm going to ask you is, which kind of picture do you get out of your first results in terms of which is the stage now in Germany about the extension the mafia phenomenon is having? Because according to what we know, in other countries, apart from Italy, but also in England or in other places, mafia starts with a number of things, like controlling the territory with bars or whatever. After it goes into construction, but after it goes in the big business. And the globalization of money is definitely helping a lot the mafia approach to business nowadays. Just to make a little expansion, if you have been going through the book of Saviano Gomorra, at one point he speaks about a guy that was persecuted by Italian officers and he was actually living in Scotland. And so they tried to make him expatriate back to Italy, but they got a problem with Aberdeen, where he was living, because he was vice president of the industrial community, because he has been investing 7 billion euro in a number of 5-6 years. So huge amount of money. So, for example, the question that I was having in mind, who is leading and driving today the drug business in Germany? Because that's usually where the mafia gets big money out. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. This is mostly done, you know, there are several levels in this also. You have got the high level, the gross market, I would say. This is almost all in the hands of Ndrangheta. When we found in our investigation, we focused on construction mafia, because, you know, this is a market nobody looks at, but in this market there's around 10 billion of euros each year who are laundered via the channels of mafia. And this is really a huge amount, and it's every year. And about this drug stuff, it's like, you know, in the highest level, it's Ndrangheta people, and in the lower levels, you got a lot of Albanians who are working for them or with them. So this is the one. The second is, we don't know how far the infiltration of the mafia reaches. I'm pretty sure, after what that I know and learn to know, that they are very, very far. I'm pretty sure that they are already in the political level. We have some hints to that, but unfortunately, wiretapping in Germany is not allowed in mafia cases, because mafia is not a crime. So you can go free as a member of a mafia. Yeah, something like that, you know. So nobody wiretaps, nobody knows, nobody talks about this. And even if it goes around big, you are allowed only to wiretape when there is a big, huge crime, like killings. And what Mafia did is the following. We discovered that there is going on a war in Germany, on German soil. But the Mafia war is not fought in Germany, it's fought in Italy. They just invite the guys who should be killed to Italy, and they kill them in Sicily or somewhere else, you know, probably in Spain. We don't know much about it. We just know that sometimes some guys of our list just disappear. Like, whoop, not anymore. We don't know who is far away. You know, so it's a bloody fucking business. No more questions?
Hi. I wanted to ask, did you get a sense that the mafia is present a lot also in other European countries, or especially in Germany? And if it's especially in Germany, is it just because Germany is the biggest economy, so it's richer, so there's more money, or is it because Germany is somewhat softer in the treatment of the mafia?
Yeah, in Germany is important, yes, but the mafia is, I'd say, almost everywhere. When we see from our database is that they have got connections to almost every country in Europe and further on. Just one example, we had one mafia cell in south of Germany, and the head of the cell, the local boss, was an Italian man from Canada who worked together with another guy from Australia who was also an Italian, who were born all together in the same town.
The point is that there are just a lot of connections, and like when it comes to business, then those criminals, they just stick together kind of. So we have like other hints where we have like connections between the Italian side, the Mafia, and they are working together with Turkey, and so they are working together with people from the PKK, and it's all about trafficking weapons and just getting the money for their work in their countries, what they need to do for whatever they want to do. So there are just really a lot of connections, and this is just what we can say, that the system that they are bringing up here in Italian, they are just simply exporting it quite to everywhere in the whole world. And Germany at the moment still has the best ground where it just can grow so easily, because there they can just make the big money, and that's what it's all about.
So that's the reason, it's just that Germany is a richer economy. I mean, I'm trying to understand why Germany is the best breeding ground.
I will add migration as well, no, historical reasons as well. I mean,
Italian immigrations there is a reason, of course, because there is already a structure of Italian families living there and that have been living there for a long time and that have German passports and they are legally German but culturally Italian. But what we were saying before about the fact that Mafia is able to go from a very local business to an extremely international and global business is true at a very deep level. With big operations like drug smuggling, we already know that they collaborate very well with other organized crime cartels from Mexico, South America, Colombia, US, and they create huge ventures, but then they have the small network for the distribution as well. So that's why our investigation was successful, maybe because we worked at the same level as they do. There are no borders for them. And if I'm not mistaken, it's only Italy and Serbia, isn't it, in Europe that have a law of criminal association. So what David was saying at the beginning of our presentation, the fact that it's not illegal to be a mafioso in Germany is true about every country in Europe. So the fact of being affiliated to an illegal organization is not illegal in itself. And although from some legal points of view, this might be, I don't know, guarantee of freedom on...
there are some more points because, or why Germany is so attractive to Mafia still. It's, of course, money, as we said, but, you know, also very important is that it's almost impossible in Germany to seize the goods of the Mafia. Even if there is some mafiosi, everybody knows, and he's committed and convicted, it's almost impossible to seize his goods. So he stays with his money. So it's completely useless, you know. You send him to prison for like 3 years, he pays a fine, a German fine from the German authorities, maybe 20,000 euros, and he stays with his 10 billion euros, you know. It's like, it's crazy. And so they just stay and say, hey, good, okay, the weather is not so fine, the food is not so good, but money is okay. So, yeah, they're already there.
Yeah, they already do. And I mean, this is also the point why they're investing the money in Germany, because in Germany they don't have to prove where they literally got the money from. So if you don't really can like prove that they are killed somebody or something like that, then they just simply don't have to say where they got it from. So that's like very good for them.
Sorry, just did anybody tell you that they were moving to Germany because life for them was getting harder in Italy, that the Italian authorities were getting better at catching them.
No, actually. Yeah.
I mean,
This
definitely there is a point, and we can also see that from the information that that we got in the database, that a lot of clans decided kind of completely to move to Germany. So there is just one clan, and they all completely decided, okay, it's just too hot for us in Italy. Okay, let's just all move to that and that place. And probably migration also is then kind of a key point. Then they probably have some relatives at some point, and obviously like friends or family then attract you to a certain point. But I mean, it's just that the laws in Germany just really attractive to Mafia at the moment.
But I think, you know, it's not about only that the Italian authorities are so successful in hunting down mafiosi. I think more important is that in Italy, especially in South Italy, the economics are not so good, you know. And if the economics are not so good, you can't get a lot of money out of it, even if you invest, you know. And the risk is very high. At this point, the mafia is like a big enterprise, where it's better to invest your money. In Italy, your goods could be seized, you know, the economics are not so good running. Even if you want to extort somebody, it's not so easy because so many people are unemployed. So better invest in Germany.
It's not just the investment itself. You want to say?
No.
It's also that as like each Italian organized crime has a kind of expertise. So you would say that Camorra works more on waste trafficking, whereas Cosa Nostra is known for the appalti, the call for tenders, right? So as the call for tenders dropped in a lot in the last years, public call for tenders stopped, privates dropped because of the crisis. The construction, the Baumafia moved to Germany, and all the reasons we just said, all put together with this thing, especially the total lack of laws. And when we interviewed Scarpinato, general prosecutor in Palermo, he said very clearly what Germany has to decide whether they want to keep Mafia or fight it. Because the point is, obviously, as you all know, there is not Coppola and Lupara anymore. We're talking about white collars. And in order to figure out whether an investment belongs to Mafia or not, you have to look at the source of money. And if Germany doesn't do that, and at the moment is not doing that, it is a paradise.
Okay. One question. I think it's last question. Or are there any more? No, last question.
We still have time. Like half an hour.
I don't know.
No, we still have time.
Who knows how much time we're left with? Was it like an hour and a half?
Is there
Well,
people
until the
waiting
don't
outside?
ask for...
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity for the last question. As I recently, first of all, great thanks for your work. I recently watched your documentary on Evasion. It was really interesting. And as you already talked about the political problems, and also in the documentary, I've got a political question. As we know, regarding to the weakness of the German law system, and what is from your point of view, what could play the European Union in harmonizing the laws? And because at the moment I don't see really activeness on this field. From your point of view, it's was there success, or is there a lot of work to do? And secondly, what could European Union done to fight on this problem? Thank you.
I would say that there is still a lot of work to do just to answer your first question, because the point is that at the moment it's just impossible to kind of really catch them and to really get them. And our problem is that if we don't do anything about it right now, then the structure will just grow like it just did like in Italy, and now it's just expanding everywhere kind of. And so this is really one thing that we have to do. But I think about like when we're just coming to the European to the European structure that we're having about the subsidies that are given to projects. So there just pops up really one project in Italy where the Mafia is involved in constructing like a very fast street, or like for, I don't know, for like many years they're kind of should construct it, or they should build it, but actually nothing did happen. So what the European Union must do is just really put like better financial mechanisms to control where they put the money into, because until now they doesn't really seem to control who really gets it, and this is one of the main problems.
Is there any other question?
Do you want to
no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I could add that there is at the European level a big problem of perception of what Mafia actually is and what is its potential. There are as many celebrations of Mafia in public culture as there are investigations that condemn them. So if you work at like Sonia Alfano at the European Parliament is trying to push for more restrictive laws around Mafia, but the kind of opposition she faces is mostly incredulity. Like people, it's very hard at the European level to make people realize the scale and the width of organized crime in Europe is still like The Sopranos. They're funny guys. There is a lot of that. Although you don't think so, at least not in this environment. I mean, you're here, so obviously you have this kind of interest. But at a general perception level, culturally, it is not a big thing. It's a thing of the past. It's an Italian thing. Some guys that get killed. But at the end of the day, it's also a matter of cultural perception, of course.
And in terms of proposals, like practical things, I think what we can see in Italy that definitely wire intercepts has been crucial. And we still have problems over here because sometimes they don't grant wire intercepts. But one of the crucial things that at the moment Italy has compared to a country like Germany is the fact that if a police force suspects that there is a mafia-type organization ongoing, they can start wiretapping without an official investigation already ongoing from a prosecutor office, which is crucial. Because otherwise, once you tell the people that they're being investigated, obviously they might talk at the phone, because you never know, but they definitely slow it down. And if you get them before that, you will have the proofs, as they had in Germany, although obviously in this case, wire intercepts are not enough, because then you need somebody to say, okay, mafia-type association is a crime. But if you put the two things together, then you should have mafia-type association as a crime, and the power of wire intercepts as a tool for police forces to employ. And I think that would be an extremely good start.
Thank you very much for your attention. Keep the good work. But this was the end, and this is a problem in Germany. And now we are going to explain how we went in this investigation. And the first thing we did was a big analysis.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. So that's a little bit too loud. Hello, I will present myself. Anna Maria Neifer is my name. I'm working as a journalist in Germany. I'm working for Westdeutscher Rundfunk, what is the biggest public TV and broadcast station in North Rhine-Westphalia, or in whole Germany, we could say. And David and I, we started working together in 2011 when we received a lot of documents about Mafia in Germany. And it was a very big report of the police authorities, round about 300 pages, and full of proofs that Germany is actually infiltrated by Mafia members who are doing their business in Germany. Why is it so attractive for the mafia in Italy to invest in Germany? It's just that they are putting the money that they are making in Italy just...
Non si sente l'audio dei video?
Se uccide è una specie di droga.
Ma nelle cuffie, ma non fuori.
Molto potente. Quello che vivi è...
Could we start one more? Give us more.
Se uccide è una specie di droga. Molto potente. Quello che vivi è come quando vai a caccia. Tutto si annulla, non vedi più niente. Cioè hai solo l'obiettivo. Non ti vedo più come un uomo, è tutto asettico. Per me sei uno che devo uccidere, punto e basta. Finisco, ti sparo, boom, me ne vado, è finito. Ci sono tanti che hanno paura, fanno il killer però una struttura mentale come la mia. Significa che io, oltre ad avere il coraggio, l'intelligenza, la capacità di preparazione, di azione, è perché sono uno spietato.
And this is especially astonishing for a German audience because this is really a killer. You killed a couple of guys in Italy, and this guy is in Germany and he's free. He's running around and doing his stuff. Coming together and saying the verbs they said to be a member of Mafia, and everything was said, but the police just said, hey, we can't do anything, they're just members of Mafia, so what should we do? And the investigation of the police just stopped. Only sometimes, as in Duisburg, when several people were killed in the streets, then it's Mafia is a big issue in Germany, but only in the meaning of Mafia is coming to Germany, they are hiding in Germany, but mainly in the opinion of our politicians, of our public opinion, the Mafia is not in Germany to operate business, but just to do some killings and stuff, but mostly they are in Italian. It's not a German problem, it's an Italian problem. So the meaning was a couple of years ago in Germany. We wanted to prove in our investigation that this is wrong. We wanted to prove that Mafia is existing in Germany, and we managed to interview a killer, and I want to show you some of this interview here we did in Düsseldorf. I hope you can hear something.
È possibile spegnere queste luci?
It's not working. It's not fun without anything to hear. Able in this investigation to put together some of the things that are very important in the developing world of international journalism. What?
Wait.
I wait again and start dancing again. No? Can I talk again? Okay. So I think it's very interesting and very important to know how to work together cross-border, how to work together in international issues, even if it comes to international crime, where there are no borders for guys who are up to do money laundering, trafficking and stuff. So we are very glad to introduce you in this story. First of all, we saw in Germany, in my department, that Germany was quite a paradise for Mafia. First of all, it's not a crime to be a member of Mafia in Germany. It's quite funny. There were some wiretapings where they even wiretaped the baptism of a Mafia member and the baptism of a Mafia cell. And, you know, for Italians it must be sounding crazy, but they were all. So I'm very glad that you are here and you are willing to listen to our story. My name is David Schraven. I'm working with Funke Mediengruppe. This is the largest newspaper group in Germany. The name is quite unknown because, I don't know. We have got a couple of newspapers like Watz and some others, Hamburger Abendblatt, Berliner Morgenpost, and I'm there working as head of investigations. We started this special project a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago. And I hope that the translation in Italian on the headphones will work. I see it's not working, so I should, what to do? What should I do? I could dance, but
It's not working. Yeah.
no, it's working. Is there anything working? Yeah, no, it's working. Okay. Okay. Good.
Great.
And I think this example is quite interesting because we were